Hello everyone and welcome to my channel. Today I'm going to show you my completed pages in the Mortal Instruments coloring book by Cassandra Clare, and the artist is Cassandra Jean. You probably saw most of these on my Instagram, but I thought I would make a video just to go through them in a little more detail. A lot of the pages that I've completed are here in the beginning, and I didn't do these in order. But this was the first page that I did, and this one I did in Copics. A lot of my Copics are pretty dry, and so a lot of this is a little bit streaky, and I don't have that many colors in Copics. My collection isn't very large, but yeah, I really like how this actually turned out because I like how the tones and like the blush and how the skin tones turned out. And this was my first attempt at doing a lot of layering, and yeah, I really like how it turned out. I had a white gel pen that I did a couple of highlights with, but you don't really see them, it's quite subtle. I did get a new gel pen after I used this. The next page is this one, and this here I used watercolor pencils, but I did not water them down with water or brush. So here what I tried to do is have a light source and have that light source disperse throughout the scene. So we have like the light from the fire hitting him on this side, over here on the books, etc. And here is the next page, and this one I also did with Copics, and a lot of, like I said, a lot of my Copics are running out of ink, so I only had a few colors that were very saturated and juicy, so I went ahead and added this green shadow to try and use up, because my green I don't use a lot, so this dark green, I used it for the shadow and I used it for this table. I don't like how it worked here, but here on this side on Clary's hair and on her back, I really like how that turned out. I tried to do like a paper, like old paper effect here. I like how Clary's skin turned out here with the freckles and everything as well. I love doing Clary's freckles and her red hair. So this is one that I did with watercolor pencils again, but this time I did water them down with paper. You can see that the paper is quite buckled. This is really good paper, but it does buckle when you put a lot of water on it. And this page I just posted on my Instagram recently. I did it with some alcohol-based markers that I found on Amazon, and these are really nice, and I tried to do like a sepia photo effect here on this page, and I really like how it turned out. I especially like how Valentine's face and like the difference between the tone of his hair and his skin turned out. So this is supposed to be an old photo of Valentine and the circle, so yeah, I wanted to give it that old photo look. Here I used a lot of those Amazon markers, again, alcohol markers, and because I liked that this page is mostly close-ups of faces, so I did all the three of them have like different skin tones, and so I tried to mix and layer to get the three different skin tones here. And then the black, and I believe this pink and blue of Magnus's shirt is with Copics, and the rest are with those Amazon markers. So this page that I did is done with friction markers, and if you don't know what they are, they're erasable markers. I don't think they're really made for coloring because they don't really layer very well. They're erasable, so they sort of sit on top of the paper and they don't really absorb well. So if you go over the same area more than once, it kind of does this. And yeah. So what I was trying to do here is I was trying to have like two different sources of light. So we have this blue light, and then we have like a warm backlight. And I was trying to make it like kind of dramatic, But unfortunately, because all of these markers, I also only have like a 10 color set, I believe. So a lot of these markers are not very dark. They are more or less the same tone. So the brown and the yellow and the blue are kind of in the same family. So if you put this into grayscale, you can see it's pretty much all one tone. And so it doesn't have that dramatic feel to it that it should. But I still enjoyed coloring this page, so yeah. This page I did with watercolor pencils, and what I do with watercolor pencils is I make a base layer with the pencil, like a light layer, then I go over with water to kind of water it out, and then I go over it again once it's dry. I like go over again to saturate more of the colors. Here I think it could have done with a couple more layers, but I really like how the stars turned out here. We have yellow stars with a red outline and the shine to them. I think it really turned out pretty. This page is also done with watercolor pencils, and here you can see the layering. We have like a few layers of watercolor pencils gone over with water and a brush, and then over that I did another layer of pencil. This one is also watercolor pencil, and on this one I waited until the paper was completely dry and I went over it with a white gel pen, and this is a different white gel pen than I have been using previously, and it's a lot more opaque. So you can see the outline here is a lot more defined and it works a lot better. So I really like how this part of it turned out. This page I did with Copics, and I really like the lanterns and how the light turned out. But I really love the way that Clary's skin turned out here, all of her freckles, the shading, they're both blushing. I think it looks really nice, and I think this illustration is really pretty too. I like the way her head is tilted up, the way he's holding her hair, everything like that. This page is done with Copics and some of those Amazon markers. This is not the best page in this book by me, but yeah, it's not the best. But it's okay. I still had fun. I feel like the white gel pen just kind of was not cooperating with me. Sometimes it gets like a little bit muddy, like it picks up some of the alcohol marker from the bottom and it kind of doesn't do what I want it to do. So yeah, it's okay though, it's fine. This page is done with Crayola erasable pencils and erasable color pencils, and they are really great if you've ever used Colorase pencils that are color pencils that you erase. These are a cheaper alternative to those because they are color pencils and they're really waxy and they're great to sketch with. But as for coloring pages, they're not the best because they don't really cover all the paper because they are so waxy. But I still like this page. It was fun to use them in a different way, and so now I know that it's good to experiment with your materials and see how you can use them and what mediums you can use them. So yeah, here I again tried to, I like having this source of light and then having like a sharp light throughout the page. And in the scene that this is depicting, this is supposed to be Isabelle's room, so I made all the different lipsticks that are sitting here in the little colors that I think she would enjoy wearing. So there's like a little purple one, a little orange one, some red, some different pinks. And this page is done with water-based brush markers. And usually I use these for my bullet journal. I use them for brush lettering and things like that. I don't usually use them for coloring, but I thought I would give it a try. And the thing is with these, they're not made for blending. So I did layer a couple of colors here. So you can layer them, but Again, I don't have a full set. I think I only have a 12 color set, so they're not the best for coloring. But if you want to do something like this where it's very dramatic and every single color is very unique, so you get that sort of look, that pop art sort of look, then it's really good. I really like how dramatic this page is and how bright and saturated it is. So this page was my very first attempt at coloring with my Prismacolor Premier pencils. And of course I had to go in and do the most complicated technique with them. I was trying to layer a bunch of colors and burnish it and burnish the top. And so I tried that technique and it took me absolutely ages to finish this page. And yeah, it turned out okay. There are parts you can still see the paper underneath, but mostly it is covered. And so I do like how we have a lot of gradients here. I mean, I'm not sure, I think this is on a boat that they're supposed to be, but I just did this sort of like gradient background Instagram logo type color scheme, and just to experiment with blending colors. And yeah, I like it. I think one thing about this coloring book is that shadow hunters, their uniform is black, so they are always wearing black on black. So it gets a little bit repetitive and a little bit boring to always be putting them in black. See, my favorite part of this whole illustration is how I did his face. How I did the face and then I added the little white gel pen tiny dots just to give him a little bit of shine here, which I think turned out really cute. And this is my absolute favorite illustration in this whole book. And my coloring of it is okay, but this illustration is so great. I love this scene in the books and I love this interpretation of that scene. It's great. So what I did is I did this with Prismacolor pencils, Prismacolor Premier pencils again, and I tried to use the burnishing technique again. It didn't work out quite as well as the previous page, maybe because I just ran out of patience, I don't know. But what I was trying to do is, Simon is supposed to be like undead at this point, so I did his skin this very light color, and I only have the one skin color in my Premier set, so I only have 24 colors. So I'm pretty proud of myself that I managed to get his skin tone so light and get Jace's skin tone nice and alive and darker or deeper. And I really like how his sort of blushing and everything turned out here. And I also love how I ended up with this bandage and this like blood smear and stuff like that. So there are good moments in this. I still think I can improve in this technique though. I don't know if I have the patience for it. This is another one that I did with watercolor pencils. This one I did with a base layer of alcohol markers, and these markers I actually got from the dollar store. At Dollarama they have 2 sets of alcohol markers. So the figures here I did with just pure Prismacolors. I did them first and then I was gonna go do that on the background, but then I thought, oh, I don't want to do that for this whole big background. So I ended up doing a base of marker and then I went over it with a Prismacolor to do a little bit of shading and gradients. And here I did that exact same technique again, and it did not turn out as good as the previous page, especially, oh my gosh, on their faces. They both look like they're going to a drag show on a horse. Yeah, it's not, they look like they have way too much makeup on. It's not good, but the horse turned out good, I think. I think some of the parts of the horse and the like backlight here turned out good, but yeah, definitely not my best page. This page I actually did with watercolor, straight watercolor, and I think I went over it a little bit with my Prismacolors. Yeah, I think I went over it with my Prismacolors just to give it a little bit of dimension. I don't know, this is just my opinion, but this particular page, I don't think I'll ever color because this scene is very, very sad. And it just makes me sad looking at it, and I don't want to color it because it's just sad. So I don't know why they put this in here. It's a pretty messed up scene in the books, and I feel like I don't think I'll ever color this particular page. So this next page I did with Prismacolors again, but in this particular instance I didn't do the burnishing. I just did regular shading, and I kind of left the white of the paper for a lot of it. I really love this illustration because I love the way her head is tilted. I love the way that I love his expression, the way he's looking at her. I like the way her little detail of this, where her finger is through his belt loop. I really like it. And yeah, this is also another messed up scene in the books, but we don't have to think about it. It's just a nice scene to color. And so here I also did a bunch of gradients that look really nice with the sort of light layer of shading that I have here. This page was done with alcohol markers, so I used my dollar store markers, my Amazon markers, and my Copics. Every alcohol marker I had, I used on this page. And I really like how it turned out. I like how her lips are red. I really like the way that both of their hair turned out. This is actually a little bit inaccurate because I think her hair is supposed to be darker than his. I'm not 100% sure, but we're gonna make it the same color, it's fine. I think I tried making it a little bit deeper, but it didn't really work, it's fine. I think it looks pretty though. I think it really looks pretty, and it looks like it's really shiny. And then I have a couple of pages that I started but I haven't finished yet. There's this page, which I actually am doing with Crayola crayons, and surprisingly it's not doing that badly. I don't know if I'll finish this page with them, but this is how it's looking so far. And this page I started with Crayola Super Tips, and I really like how bright these are. Water-based markers are just so bright, but again, they're not the best. They're not made for blending, but you can layer them because look at how this green here is different from this green that's just on the white of the paper, and this one is on, the darker green is on top of this lighter green, and it gives a different tone to the green. So you can make new colors just by layering these on top of each other. So again, I have a very limited set. I think I only have 10. So that's why I chose this particular page. I might finish the figures off with Copics, or I might finish them off with the Crayolas. We shall see. So that is it for my Cassandra Clare and Cassandra Jean Mortal Instruments coloring book. That's the pages that I've completed in it so far. Thank you so much for watching, and I'll see you in my next video. Bye!